Hi, everyone. We'll start in just a minute or two. We'll give people a little time to join the call. So just hang tight. Okay, let's get started. And if you uh, join late or have questions, there's a recording available of the call of the webinar. And yeah, we're always available to help clarify anything that you might have missed at the beginning or end of a presentation. So today, what we're here to talk about is how to leverage the export function in no-code tests with Gatling to speed up and ease your test as code creation. Okay, before we get to the topic of the day, I just want to quickly cover our overall webinar strategy for 2025. We have three different flavors of webinars that you can use to learn and kind of advance your skills in load testing and knowledge in the testing segment overall. This is a product webinar, which I host monthly. In addition to that, our developer advocate, Samir, is hosting testing sessions and office hours webinars monthly as well. We send out lots of communications to help you join these sessions. If you haven't seen those communications, again, feel free to ping us on LinkedIn or in the Gatling community page, and we'll reach out to you individually and make sure you get an invitation to the next webinar. All right, so today we're here to talk about exporting no-code tests and getting started in your test as code journey. So we're going to cover why use no-code in the first place, then why transition to test as code if you start with no-code. The feature we have to export tests, no-code tests, and create test as code tests, and how it's the best of both worlds. Then we'll do a quick live demo and a little highlight of what will come up in our next product webinar after that. At any time while I'm presenting, feel free to drop questions in the chat. I'll probably get to them at the end because it's kind of hard to juggle the presentation and chat at the same time. But yeah, feel free to interact and we'll make sure your questions get answered. So why no code? The reason no code is such a great addition to the Gatling Enterprise product is that you can create tests quickly. It's easier to onboard new users. It's great for testing simple scenarios. You might just have a couple of chained requests that you need to execute to get a preliminary idea if your app is working correctly. You can spin that up in a couple of minutes. And the fourth reason is it's a great starting point for more complex use cases. And that's what we're going to cover today is how to leverage no code to move into a test as code approach to just quickly get set up and have a functioning test that you can then customize to meet your needs. Okay, so why would you transition to test as code? The basic reasons include to develop more complex scenarios. Maybe you need to like loop something, or you need to have a bifurcated action to send some users to one like journey and other users to another. You can use this to minimize repetition. So instead of repeating the same thing over and over again, you can have it just a simple piece of code to do that and call it more than once. You can take advantage of, and the final one is you can take advantage of the full Gatling SDK. So there's a lot of features that we offer in test as code that are currently not available in our no code tooling. So this includes feeders, basically being able to add preset data. Think about it as like, records or username and passwords. it gives you access to the Gatling expression language, which allows you to do lots of things easier than if you had to write the full code by yourself. It also gives you access to things like checks, which we'll cover a little bit later. So this is like, okay, you expected a response code of 200, and you can use this to validate that, in fact, that's the response code that's generated. And there's a lot more. You can look through our documentation or attend some of our other sessions and learn about all the Gatling features. Okay, so what is exporting a no-code test look like? So once you've crafted a no-code test, you have the option to export it, and you can export it as either a JavaScript npm project or a Java Maven project. So these are our two most popular solutions for writing tests in 2025. And this is what we support right now for going from the no code approach to the test as code approach. Also, when you create your exported test, the test includes your user scenario. So like you generated, say you've gone through a few steps, like a couple GET requests, maybe a post request to log into a site. That's all included in the export. The injection profile, which is kind of how virtual users will arrive at your site, are included in the export. And then finally, it includes your test configuration. And so this can include things like the number and location of your load generators. It can include other things like assertions to set SLAs for your tests. It can include things like our run stop criteria feature, which allows you to like cut the test off early if you've met some sort of threshold, maybe exceeded an error threshold that you don't want to go over. This is really helpful if you're doing something like testing in production. So these are the kind of main components of what is exported when you run the export command. All right, okay, so now let's move over and look at a demo of what looks like to create a test and export it. And then we'll look at the exported test, and I'll make a small example of how you could customize the test after, once you're in the test as code environment. Okay. Let's see here if I can move over to this guy. Okay, so now we're in the Gatling Enterprise platform. Let's just go back over to the homepage real fast, where you can see the list of the last simulations that were run in this account. And we're going to work on a no-code simulation. I'm going to go to the Simulations tab. If I wanted to make a brand new one, I could click Create Simulation, but I made one in advance to help illustrate this case for all of you. So I'm going to open this no-code export demo simulation, and then I will go to edit so we can see what the simulation looks like. This is a really basic simulation using our ecom demo platform. And what it has is it has 3 GET requests, basically to fetch the first page of items on this fictitious e-commerce page, and then browse through a couple more pages of items. And then finally, it adds an item to the cart. So these are 3 GET requests, and then it's followed with a POST request. And the POST request has a JSON body, which allows you to pass the session ID and the cart details to be able to add the item to the cart. After that, coming down the list, it's set up as a soak test. And this is just because I wanted to be nice and friendly to our demo site and not hit it with lots of users unnecessarily. So it's just really straightforward. It runs for just 10 seconds and adds 1 user per second to the test. For the sake of keeping the demo really straightforward, I skipped all of these optional criteria, but if you open them, you can do a lot of other things to customize the test. Like I was saying earlier, you could add a different load generator location, change the number of load generators, etc. Now, what we normally show you if you're working on no code is we come down here and we hit save as launch and get a result right away. But today, instead of doing that, we're focusing on the export as code options. So if you press export as code, what you get is an example of the scenario file on the left-hand side. And up here at the top, you have an option to toggle between either a Java version or a JavaScript version of the simulation. Let's work with the JavaScript version today, and we can just press the export button, and now it downloads the fully packaged simulation to our local environment. A little bit like a cooking show, I did this earlier so that we could switch right to the file and be able to look at what the exported project looks like. So I'm going to switch to my IDE. This is in Visual Studio Code. And you can see on the left-hand side here, let me drag it out a little bit. I have the project structure. And on the right-hand side, I have the primary file with the Gatling simulation in it. So I'll just quickly go over the project structure, which is there's a .gatling folder. And this includes things like the package configuration and the node modules. We won't spend time on those today, but one of the things that you can do with this is you get the package configuration. So that's like where your load generators are located. And if you use any of those other additional options in the test from no code that come with you into the test as code environment. Then we have a resources folder, which we use to contain any data that we need to call for the test. So like if you want to use feeders, this is where you would put the data for your feeder files. We are using that today. It has one file in it, this req-4.raw, and this is the data for that JSON containing the product information for adding it to the cart. And then finally, in the SRC folder, we have the exported project .gatling.js file, which is the one that I have open here on the right-hand side. In here, we get the fully exported version of the simulation. It consists of the import statements. Then it has the information to be able to construct the test, including the scenario. So this is equivalent to what we were looking at in the no-code simulation with 3 GET requests and then a post request to add an item to the cart. And then finally, it has the setup block, which is the injection profile. So this is what we were looking at before, adding 1 user per second for 10 seconds as the duration of the test. So 2 things we can do here really quickly to customize this test, just to give you an idea of what we can do. The first one is something you don't have to do. It's just a good practice. When we export this, we give you the full functionality from the no-code editor, but we don't need everything because we're using only one type of injection profile. So all of the items up here that are in gray are unnecessary and not used in the test. So we can clean this up and give ourselves a little bit cleaner test experience by just removing these items. So do that real fast. Okay. And then the second thing is, as I mentioned before, maybe we want to check and make sure that the response to one of our requests has a specific code that comes back. So what I've done in this test is I've added this line right here. So this didn't come from the export. It's something that I added before we started the webinar. And all it is a check that makes sure that the status of this post request to add the item to the cart is 200, which means that it was okay and that the request worked. So that's just a little simple change there in addition to the other ones we made. So now I can save this file and I could do one of 2 things. I can run it locally, or I can actually push it back to Gatling Enterprise and run it on Gatling Enterprise. For our sake today, just to keep things really simple, I'm going to run it locally here. Actually, let's not do that. Let's run it on Gatling Enterprise. So let's see if I can do this. Let's see if we can do this. If you're new to using the JavaScript SDK, you can pull up all of the commands. I think this is the right way to do this. And we can see what we have available. So like I can use this enterprise package command right here to package the test and be able to run it on Gatling Enterprise. So npx Gatling Enterprise package. Okay, so now it's created the simulation and moved the file that we need into this target folder. So there's package.zip. So if we go back to the Gatling Enterprise platform here, and I wanted to run this test, I could go to simulations, create simulation, test as code, create a new package. And then what I'll do is, let's see if I can find this. Package.zip. We're going to call this export demo to the team. Let's choose the performance team today and create. All right, now the test is back in our main in our main simulation window, and we can do the same things that we could do with no code. So we can configure the locations. So let's just set this. Actually, what I will do today is I'll set this to London. If you didn't know, we just added a London location. We can pick the simulation, and that's all we have to do. And let's save and launch. This is a great time to point out really quickly that if you're experienced with the platform, you'll notice that we have a little bit of a new user experience here. We'll talk about a tiny bit at the very end of today, but basically you're going to get opportunity in 2 weeks for a webinar that will go into more detail on this, on the changes that we've made to the UX in the last couple of weeks. So now our test is building, and then it will go through the deploy and injection stage. So this demonstrates how quickly you can make like customizations to your test, redeploy them to the platform, and run the test really with very little friction and super good experience to see results for your load tests in minutes instead of like spending a lot of time kind of constructing your original scenarios. And for me, like because I do webinars like this, I'll tell you it's a really nice experience to be able to quickly build the initial test framework from the no-code tool and then customize it as I need to before presenting it. So I get use out of it that way, but I think that you'll find really unique ways to use this to your advantage once you get used to creating the test in no code and then exporting it to IDE and making the customizations that you need. All right, our test is working now, and I'll just scroll down so you can see that we have the really nice like results, no errors, the requests are going through. This makes sense from the way that we designed the injection profile. And we're seeing everything that we would hope to see in a great load test. So this is I'll call this the completion of the demo step, and we can swap back over to the presentation slides, and I'll just go over a couple more things. Okay, right. All right, so that was the live demo. That's how you can create a test in the no-code environment, and you can use that to jumpstart or speed up your ability to create test as code tests and customize your tests more. So I just wanted to be able to end the kind of webinar part, my presentation part, by telling you what's coming up next. In about 2 weeks, we're going to have another webinar to cover our new multi-run comparison tool, which will allow you to compare up to 5 runs from the same simulation at the same time and get really deep into the details of the runs. It also has a really nice high-level view of your recent test results. That's great if you're just trying to see in seconds whether your app performance is improving or getting worse. And we'll cover all that in detail in 2 weeks' time. So I'm going to stop there and see if anybody has any questions they'd like me to answer today. You can feel free to put the questions in either the chat or the questions box as you see fit. We'll just give a minute or two if anybody has any questions. Okay. Since there's no questions coming in, I'm going to guess that you are all completely amazed and happy with the results of today's demonstration. So thank you again for attending, and we will be back in 2 weeks for a really cool presentation about how you can use run comparison to better understand your test results over time and demonstrate that your performance engineering efforts are paying off for the business. Thanks everyone for attending, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye.